problem.
Okay, okay. I see that you're a counselor, Henning. Would you like to
Yes,
tell
that's
me a
correct.
bit about it?
Yeah, so I'm a registered counsellor with the Health Professions Council of South Africa.
Okay.
So I'm dealing with things such as stress and trauma, burnout, some teenage issues, and mild to moderate anxiety and depression, and people dealing with grief and loss and chronic illnesses, and just also more the basic everyday challenges. My target group is basically anyone of the age of 11 years and older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. No, that's wonderful. And when did you get started with this?
Well, I only got registered at the Health Professions Council in 2012 because they haven't always had this category of councillors with the Health Professions Council. So when I finished my studies in 2000, when I did my honors in psychology,
Okay.
back then there wasn't a category like that. And I actually did my postgraduate diploma in education. And then I became what they called a guidance counselor back then.
Okay.
So as a guidance counselor, I already did counseling since 2002. But then it was only in 2012 that I had the opportunity of becoming a registered counselor, doing my board exams, and going through that whole process.
Okay, okay. Wow. So it's been a while since you started the business. So it's like it's almost over a decade now.
Yeah, I haven't had private practice since the start. So initially I worked in a school
Okay.
from 2002 to 2000 and July of 2017. But even while I was working for the school, I started to branch out and did some work for Stellenbosch University's one mental health clinic, community health clinic. Also did some trauma counseling for a network.
Okay.
But my main job back then was to work as a counselor for a high school. And then in July of 2017, I left education system.
Mm.
And basically from start of 2018, I started with my private practice.
Okay, okay. No, that's wonderful. So basically your background is in psychology.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And you said the people that you serve, it's from the age of 11 and above.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone with these daily challenges, the traumas, and so forth, can be able to assist them.
Yes. So when it comes more to severe abnormal psychology, when there are very serious disorders such as severe depression, severe anxiety, or personality disorders,
Mm.
then we as counselors are not allowed to do that according to our scope of practice. So
Okay.
scope of practice is the guidelines set by the Health Professions Council of South Africa according to what you trained to do and what you're allowed to do, right? So
Yeah.
if it reaches that stage, then we have to uh, go and refer to clinical psychologists and psychiatrists.
Okay.
Um, so our scope are some of the things that I've previously mentioned, yes.
Okay. Okay. So if we have to look at it, what are some of the common problems this group of people face? like the people that you serve?
Yeah, so I think once again it's probably all those things that I've mentioned. I think if I have to sort of identify a focus area in my practice, it would probably be trauma.
Okay.
And maybe then second to that is of adjustment issues. So that can include a whole range of problems, whether it be a diagnosis of a sickness that you have to adjust to, or someone losing their job that you have to adjust to, even some people losing a limb, an arm, or a leg, or diagnosis of a sickness of some sort that they have to adjust to, or just ordinary everyday adjustments, right? People
Yes, yes.
going into a different phase of life, preteens becoming teenagers, or high school learners going to, tertiary education, or working people who go into retirement. So any of those kinds of adjustments.
Okay, okay, okay. No, I see. It's understandable. So, how exactly do you work? Do you have a process that you have these people go through, or you have some prescriptions? How exactly do you serve them?
Yeah, you look. It's what's usually called to as talking therapy. In other words, it's conversations.
Okay.
But it's conversations, obviously, with a purpose, right? It's not
Yes, yes,
just everyday, ordinary conversations that you have between friends.
yes, yes.
So it's with a specific purpose in mind and a specific method behind it. And usually my way of approaching it is, or my goal, objective also in therapy, is to help the client to become the best version of themselves. Because once they become the best version of themselves, then they are able to deal with everything
Sure.
in a much better way. Not only even the problem that they came to see me for, but
Yes,
actually everything in life in general
yes,
becomes at least more tolerable, or they can cope with it better if they become a better version of themselves.
for sure.
And that is part of the process then,
Okay,
that I have to guide them in, is to have these kinds of conversations that leads to change and that leads to becoming a better version of themselves.
okay, okay. No, that's understandable. So, given all the success that we have so far, what can you say is your biggest challenge that you've faced?
Yeah, it's maybe not specifically my challenge, but it also becomes my challenge. But I think one of the biggest challenges in the industry is trying to accommodate people who can't afford these services, right? So
Okay.
we all know that, in terms of the government services when it comes to mental health, it's lacking severely, right?
Yes.
The the provision of psychological services within communities and within the government health system is very short-staffed, and highly understaffed.
Yes.
So people who often need it the most don't have access to these services.
Mm, mm,
So yeah, I think that is probably one of the biggest challenges within the sector, is how can you help people, how can you serve people who actually can't afford these services, right?
yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, one needs to start looking at different models and try and involve the private sector as well, coming
Mm,
to the table and maybe sponsoring some sessions, and stuff like that. So yeah,
yes.
I think for me, I think that is one of the biggest challenges at the moment.
Okay. So have you tried to address it like in a way that you just mentioned of looking for sponsors?
Um, Look, so far, what I've done is, I mean, in South Africa, there is this network called the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, SADAG,
Okay.
and they provide free services to the community, but that's mainly telephonic services and not necessarily full sessions. So that is more like a telephone helpline.
Mm.
So I also volunteer my services to them. Um, and then specifically, one of my passions is to provide services to the medical professionals within the government sector who also can't always afford mental health services. And there I've started a Back a Buddy campaign, crowdfunding, um, that I've put online. And yeah, to try and see if some people, either the South African public or people from overseas, are maybe willing to sponsor sessions, then specifically in this case for medical professionals in the government sector in South Africa.
Okay, okay, okay. No, that's understandable. So I can see that your passion definitely is obvious. So what exactly do you like the most about what you do?
Yeah, I know it's very much of a cliche, but I like helping people. And as I said, by helping my clients to become the best version of themselves,
Yeah.
I can actually see how resourceful people are and how resilient people are,
Yes.
the strengths that people have, despite their circumstances, right? How they
Mm.
overcome their circumstances and obstacles. So often when I tell people what I do, people say, oh, it must be so hard, and almost it must be so negative because you're dealing with all of these problems all the time.
Yes.
And to some sense, there's obviously some truth in it. But on the other hand, I also get to see, yeah, examples of how incredibly resourceful people are and how strong people are, and what they do despite these circumstances. And yeah, it's just incredibly to be a witness to all of these stories, and then obviously to play some small role in all of this.
Mm. Mm. Okay, okay. No, Henning, and understand. You do something that is very incredible and very so much needed in our society to say. So, if you had to start again, what exactly would you think you can be able to do differently?
Yeah. I actually I think nothing. I don't think I would do anything differently. Not because I did everything perfectly, but
Um,
I think the mistakes you make also make you the person who you are today, right? That's all part of the journey.
yes, yes.
Learning from your mistakes. And yeah, as I say, it's not like I say this because I think that I did everything at the best of that I could have in hindsight. But
Mm.
yeah, if it's not for those mistakes, you're not going to learn. There's no other way to learn but to make mistakes and to try things, and it's trial and error. And then you adapt according to the feedback that you get from those mistakes, and that's the way you go forward. So yeah, I actually wouldn't have it any other way.
Definitely, I understand. So, would you like to share something else that maybe I forgot to ask you about?
Yeah, I just think that people who are in need of therapy, they should do their homework well, and go to, most therapists nowadays have web pages. Go to the web page, go and read about the therapist, make sure it's a good fit for you. I also warn against, it's quite tempting for the average citizen out there to be very impressed with therapists with lots of different therapeutic methods, right? Different various therapies. And I think it may look very impressive to people out there. But you must realize that, for each and every single therapy, you must spend hours and hours and hours to become a master in that therapeutic modality.
Okay.
And it's actually not possible for a therapist, especially, a younger therapist, or even a therapist sort of in their mid-adult years, to have mastered all of those therapies. There's sort of this notion that, can't remember who said, you need to spend about 10,000 hours to master any skill. Now, the exact number of hours is not what it's about, because there's not actually a lot of science behind that. But I think the principle is just, in order to be good at anything,
Yeah.
you need to spend lots and lots of time on becoming very proficient in it. So, it's actually simply not possible to
Mm.
really be proficient in 3, 4, 5, 6 different therapies. So, unfortunately, I think some therapists, they just go and attend a course or workshop, and then they put it on the list of their skills. But yeah, one must be really careful of that sort of thing.
Okay.
And really go for a therapist who offer maybe one or two approaches, but who's really a master at what he or she does. And as I said, just do your homework well before you make a choice.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Henning. So, where can people get to learn more about you and what you do if they want to get in touch with you, your services?
They can go to my website, that is helderbergcounselling.co.za.
Okay.
And the spelling of counseling is the British spelling, so 2 L's, helderbergcounselling.co.za. Or my email address then is very similar. It's info@helderbergcounselling.co.za.
All right, Henning. It was nice having you. Thank you so much for your great insights. That was so much helpful.
No, it's a pleasure, Blessing. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the opportunity.